It all started with a chill, a quiet whisper at the back of my neck telling me something wasn't right. I had always been the kind of husband who trusted his wife, who believed in the strength of our vows. But over the past few months, things began to change in ways I couldn't ignore. Lydia, my wife of 10 years, had grown distant. She was constantly on her phone, laughing at texts she wouldn't share, working late more than usual, and suddenly paying more attention to her appearance, something she hadn't done before. She claimed it was for herself, for her confidence, but it didn't feel like that. I wanted to trust her, I really did. I tried to convince myself I was just being paranoid. But then came the night I found the receipt. An expensive dinner at a restaurant we'd never been to, a romantic spot downtown where lovers proposed. The receipt was crumpled in her purse, buried under an old lip balm and a half-eaten granola bar. When I asked her about it, she stammered, claiming it was for a work meeting. Her eyes darted to the floor, betraying her. I didn't confront her then. I could have exploded, demanded answers, but something told me to wait. If I confronted her too soon, she'd deny everything, and I'd look like a fool. So I did what any rational man would do. I became a detective. I started small, keeping an eye on her phone when she wasn't looking. She'd grown protective of it, always angling the screen away from me, but I was patient. Soon, I noticed the same number appearing again and again. Texts at all hours, sometimes just simple "can't wait to see you," or "missed you today." My stomach churned each time I saw them. The name attached to the number was Kara, but I knew better. Kara didn't send messages like that. One night, while Lydia was in the shower, I unlocked her phone using the passcode I had memorized. My hands shook as I opened her messages. There it was in black and white, a conversation with someone named Mark. The sweet compliments, the "I love the way you laugh," the "when can I see you again?" And Lydia's responses made me sick. She told him she missed him, that he made her feel alive, that she couldn't wait for the next lunch meeting. I thought about confronting her right then, storming into the bathroom and demanding an explanation, but I didn't. Something in me wanted more than just a confrontation. I wanted her to feel the betrayal I felt. I wanted her world to crumble the way mine had. So I waited and planned. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. Lydia had been working on a big project at her marketing firm for weeks, something involving a new client eager to make a splash. She was scheduled to give a major presentation at their office downtown, and she'd been nervous and excited about it. The morning of her presentation, I kissed her goodbye and wished her luck, wondering if she'd kissed Mark the same way. As soon as she left, I sprang into action. A quick trip to the florist, a stop at a coffee shop, and I had everything I needed. By noon, I was parked outside the client's office, watching through the window as Lydia stood at the front of the room, projecting confidence in her sleek black dress. The perfect professional, the devoted wife. My jaw clenched as I thought about the lies she had told me to get there. When the delivery driver arrived, I handed him the package with the address. "Make sure it goes directly to Lydia Thompson," I said. "She's expecting it." She wasn't. Not even close. I watched from my car as the driver entered the building with the box in hand. 10 minutes later, chaos erupted. I saw Lydia freeze mid-sentence as the box was handed to her. She opened it with a polite smile, probably expecting flowers or something congratulatory. Instead, she found printed screenshots of her text messages with Mark, along with a handwritten note. "You're not as clever as you think you are." The room went silent. Her face turned ashen, her hands trembling as she flipped through the pages. The client's team, mostly men in suits, looked at each other in confusion, then at Lydia. I couldn't hear the words being exchanged, but I could see the panic in her eyes as she tried to explain, tried to salvage the presentation. It didn't work. Then there was Mark. I'd done my homework on him, too. He was her co-worker, smooth-talking, married with 2 kids. I found his address, his social media profiles, even the school his kids attended. I debated whether to involve his family, but in the end, I took a more direct approach. After Lydia's disastrous presentation, I followed her to a coffee shop where she and Mark often met. She didn't see me sitting in the back, watching as Mark arrived and slid into the seat across from her. They spoke in hushed tones, Lydia's hands fluttering nervously as she tried to explain. Mark's face darkened as he realized the implications. That was when I made my move. "Mark, right?" I said, standing over their table. His head snapped up, his expression shifting from confusion to recognition to fear in a split second. Lydia's face went pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Who the hell are you?" Mark demanded, but his voice lacked the confidence of someone who truly wanted an answer. I dropped a stack of photos onto the table. Pictures of him and Lydia entering hotels, leaving bars, laughing together in his car. "I'm the husband," I said. "The one you've been lying to. The one you've been screwing over while you played house with my wife." The color drained from Mark's face. Lydia reached for my arm, tears streaming down her cheeks. "David, please, let's talk about this at home." "Oh, we'll talk about it," I said, shaking her off. "But first, I think Mark here needs to explain himself. You see, I've already sent copies of these photos to his wife and to HR at your company. I figured they'd appreciate knowing what kind of people they're employing." "You can't do that," Mark stammered. "You'll ruin me." "You ruined yourself," I shot back. "You both did. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? That you could just waltz through life wrecking other people's homes and no one would notice?" Lydia broke down completely, sobbing into her hands as Mark sat there frozen. I turned to leave, but not before delivering the final blow. "Oh, and Lydia," I said, glancing back over my shoulder. "Don't bother coming home. The locks are changed, your things are in storage, and I've already contacted a lawyer. Good luck explaining this to your parents." Her sobs followed me out the door, but I didn't look back. For the first time in months, I felt free. In the weeks that followed, Lydia tried to reach out, apologies, explanations, promises to change. I ignored them all. Mark's wife filed for divorce, and he was fired after HR investigated the photos and messages I'd sent. As for me, I focused on rebuilding my life, one step at a time. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Lydia and Mark had made their choices. Now they had to live with them. And me? I was finally free to live with mine.